Fantasy football junkies, you are tuned in to the #1 source for fantasy prognostication. It's Testosterone Fantasy Sports with your hosts, Jeff and Jesse. So listen up. Here's your chance to gain the edge over the competition and dominate your fantasy football league. Every week we break down all of the matchups and tell you who to play as well as who should ride the pine. This is the joint that every fantasy junkie needs, so check it out!
What is up, fantasy football freaks? It's Testosterone Fantasy Sports. You tune in every week to get the knowledge you need to dominate in your fantasy football league. Jeff and Jesse in the house as always. Jeff, what a crazy week one we just endured.
I'm telling you, man, it was the big shake-up in the NFL.
Absolutely.
For sure. We saw a lot of craziness go down. This is why we do all the evaluation that we do early in the season. But no matter how much we do, when the year starts, it's crazy to begin with. So we want to encourage everybody out there to just sit back, relax, don't panic at all about what's going on with your fantasy players in the NFL, your favorite teams. Ours went down to the pack by 5 points. It sucked.
Yep.
But don't panic. We've got 3 weeks to evaluate how this league is going to shape up. Going to get some trends looked at, some mirages and stuff like that over the next few weeks, and we're going to see how it's going to shake up.
Yeah, we've been doing this show for 4 years, Jeff. This is our 5th season, and we kind of talked to the fantasy junkies out there in the week 1 show, and we call that the big shakeup. We see it year in and year out where we come in with expectations. What are certain players going to do? How are certain teams going to perform in that first week? I mean, it's a little bit of the roll of the dice. I mean, who would have foreseen a huge day from a guy like Michael Turner or Donovan McNabb putting up the leading yardage in passing after 1 week, or Willie Parker scoring 3 touchdowns and he only scored 2 all season last year. So it really is the big shakeup. Week 2, as we bring these themes around, week 2 is definitely don't panic, as you're saying. Fantasy junkies out there, if you're 0-1, don't get your best players because they had one bad game. Don't panic. And we're here right now, Testosterone, to help you navigate shark-infested waters.
Yeah, most definitely. I know one guy who he cut Heath Miller for Bo Scaife. Don't be that guy, you know. Heath Miller's got a lot more talent than Bo Scaife. He's going to have a nice season on a good team with a good passing offense. Don't be cutting your highly talented players for this week's waiver wonder who could be a 1 week guy only.
Right.
You know, you got to watch out and don't panic. Just relax.
Yeah, you remember Frishman Jackson, right?
I remember Frishman Jackson.
I think that was his name. He had 1 game in week 1, and about 1 million people across the United States added him to the fantasy roster. He didn't score another touchdown the entire season. So, but Jeff, talk about don't panic. There are definitely some panicking fantasy owners out there because week 1 saw some big name players in the NFL get victimized to injury. We would be remiss if we did not start with the biggest name of them all, the New England Patriots, quarterback Tom Brady, reigning MVP, blown out ACL, blown out MCL, gone for the season. What more can be said, man?
That the Chiefs are dirty, dirty rat bastards. That's what he said. I think that the coaching staff got together and they were like, look, the only way to compete in this league or against this team is if we take out Brady. So they blitzed that safety and they were like, if you got a shot at his knee, go for it. The Patriots, they were accused of doing that themselves. The Vince Wilfork play a couple years back, and Vince Wilfork, he went into the quarterbacks. He kind of stuck his elbow out. He was really going for his knee. So that looked more dirty, but I still think, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire, man, and I think the Chiefs are.
Yeah, I've looked at this play. I know Jeff is a little jaded. He's got Brady in our tough Testosterone Ultimate Fantasy Football League, so I know it really hurts him. I've looked at the play. I don't think it was as dirty as you was, but I definitely think there was no reason for him to do that. He stacked Brady while he was already down. It did look to me like the offense kind of pushed him in the back as he was falling, as he was kind of lunging forward. So dirty play, possibly stupid play, absolutely. But nevertheless, fantasy owners, you've lost Tom Brady. You likely spent $20 or $25 of your. You spent your top 5 or 7 pick right now. Don't panic. What do you think about Matt Castle? Fantasy owners plug this guy in?
Well, hopefully, I mean, that's why we get backup quarterbacks in fantasy football. So hopefully, we're able to back Tom Brady up with a guy who's got some good upside. I have Matt Schaub to back him up, and I think that's a team that's the ball a lot. If you've got a Phillip Rivers type of guy, he's going to be doing very well. I hope that you don't have to put Matt Castle into your lineup. If you're sitting there with Garrard as your backup, you might think about it.
Right.
I do like their matchup, although I'm pretty high on the Jets' defense right now. I do think that Matt Castle is going to be able to produce. He's got a fantastic group of wide receivers to throw the ball to. Randy Moss is going to be out there like, get me the ball. I want the ball. And so they're going to need to get him the ball, or Randy Moss is going to turn into a complete biatch, like we've seen him do in the past.
Absolutely.
So they have Welker and Gaffney. They've got some guys in the backfield who can catch the ball. So I think Castle will be fine, but I'm tempering my expectations for now to see, because I do think it could be like 200 yards and a touchdown each game, which isn't quite close to what you want.
3 other quarterbacks went down in the opening week. Vince Young, we've got to talk a little bit about this strange situation. He's got the knee grizzle now, Jeff. He's not going to play for a month, but on Monday night, some weird stuff transpiring in the media. Jeff Fisher calling the cops. They don't know where he's at. Young supposedly driving around town. They found an unloaded gun in his car. Just some very odd behavior. Now his mom has come out after the fact and said, Vince doesn't want to play football anymore. And this is a really strange development. I wonder if this might just be, he's been patted on the back for so many years, told, you're the man in high school and you're the man in college. Now here he's getting some criticism. Do you think Vince Young is starting to crack a little bit under the pressure?
Well, I thought that his body would go before his mental toughness, but this is a mental toughness injury that he's facing right now. And I think that's a definite part of the NFL. So when you've got a team that you're trying to lead, when the expectations are so high like they are in the NFL, I mean, winning is of the utmost importance in this league. So and when you don't perform well, and he was missing wide receivers like crazy.
Right.
He threw 2 really bad throws that resulted in interceptions for his team, and he kind of led that team to lose until Kerry Collins came in to kind of resurrect them. So, I mean, he's definitely looking over his shoulder right now and kind of reacting to an extreme. So you got to kind of worry for that guy. He's a young guy. He doesn't have a lot of experience in the NFL, and to this day he hasn't got the pass going, and it's time for him to. So it's a tricky situation. Yeah, very sketchy.
I heard one report that he went to Jeff Fisher in the middle of that game before the knee injury and was literally just like, "You got to take me out. I can't play anymore." Like literally cracking apart at the seams, and it's strange for me to think, because Vince Young has all of the physical talent in the world, but here he is. He's just cracking under the pressure. Vince, we're telling all the fantasy junkies out there, don't panic. Vince, don't panic. You're the man. You led your team to the playoffs in your very first year or second year.
First and second year.
Yeah, and you're a hell of a player. You're a hell of a guy. Fantasy owners, you got to forget about Vince Young for the time being, because he's not a quarterback you can rely on.
Well, I hope that he can face this giant that he's looking squarely in the eye right now and tackle him, as it were, and overcome this situation that he's dealing with. Hopefully there's a good sports psychologist out there that he can work with. I think he needs to lay down on the guy's couch and share from the bottom of his heart and maybe shed a few tears, and talk about how when that lineman sacked him, it hurt him. It hurt him right here, you know what I'm saying? And get some of those things dealt with, because he is a great athlete and he can win, and he's proven that in the NFL. And you don't have to do it pretty, Vince. They haven't given you any targets. Go out there and run the ball and win. We don't care. We want to see you on the field. So hopefully he's able to face this and come through as a stronger person. 2
other quarterbacks that started their Week 1 game won't be playing in Week 2. Brody Croyle out with a shoulder separation. Jeff Garcia having some problems with his coach, as well as an ankle problem, but fantasy owners don't really care about those guys. The big name causing fantasy owners problems right now, causing some panic, Marcus Colston, a #1 wide receiver for an explosive offense, Jeff, torn ligament in, I believe, his thumb, underwent surgery on Tuesday. They're saying 4 to 6 weeks. I'm hearing it could be more like 6 to 8. Fantasy owners are panicking.
Yeah, boy, he's a great wide receiver. He's got great talent. He's got awesome jets. He needs his thumb to catch the football. So, if he was a big, dumb lineman, it wouldn't matter. You know what I'm saying? He could just tape it up and go out there and hit the guy, wouldn't really, but he needs his hands to catch the ball. So they need him out there, and it's going to be a few weeks before he's able to get back out there. And, hopefully he can rehab well. I like Devery Henderson because he's the same body style, big, tall, lights out Jets. He doesn't have nearly as good a hands or as good of a mind, football mind as Colson does, but I do think that they'll still be able to stretch the field. And I do like this development for Jeremy Shockey and for Reggie Bush on the reception totals. And I'm pimping the Bush because of how great he was in last week's game in their receiving game. So I think they'll do well still.
Yeah, they've got a pass-happy offense. There's no doubt about it. They've got a lot of receivers. Two names Jeff did not touch on. David Patton, who was starting opposite Marcus Colston to begin with. I like David Patton he got a touchdown last week. He'll be a target of Drew Brees. And the sneaky guy here that I'm telling fantasy owners to watch out for is Robert Meacham. He was deactivated in week 1, deactivated for his first 16 games of his NFL career last year. He's going to suit up this weekend. He dominated play in preseason when he had a chance to play. I think they're going to bring him into the fold. They need to now. They need an explosive player. So we know that Sean Payton is not going to panic, and the Saints passing game should continue running along.
Yeah, it should be all right. So we'll take a look at how that all transpires and keep everybody up to date on that situation because the Saints passing game should be a big story of the NFL. So one other thing to always keep in mind when you're watching the show is we do one segment now each week on the web only. So why don't we tell everybody what matchups we covered on the web only segment and if we've still got those.
I don't know if we can really do
We covered
that.
Atlanta. Let me grab that paper here. I got it here. Oakland at Kansas City, San Francisco at Seattle, Baltimore at Houston, Miami at Arizona, and Atlanta at Tampa Bay. If you're interested in any of those matchups, click on it at www.testosteronesports.com. You'll find the web-only vid there. Watch that with vigor, and it'll help you win in your league this week.
Yeah, and we've got a great show for you, so don't go anywhere. Our good friend Zach is going to be stopping by. As always, we're going to be breaking down all of the matchups, telling you who to play, telling you who to put on your fantasy bench. Week 2 is just hours away, folks, so stay tuned. Stay right here. TFS will be back right after this.